Hi everyone, I am taking over your lessons. I am called Laura, or Laura McLeod. Please call me Laura because you're year 10s. So I'm going to be taking your lessons for the next topic and then rotating between this class, so your class, and the other year 10 group. So you'll see me on and off throughout the year. And today's lesson is the start of B3, so that is about the digestive system and organisation within it. So we're going to start with tissues and organs. So for your starter, could you try and make words of 3 organs using these letters here? So it's just a jumble of letters, so make up 3 different organs using those letters. And an extension, state the function of those 3 organs. Now, for the rest of this lesson, I will turn my camera off because it really drains my battery, but you have now seen my face, so I am not just a voice floating in the abyss. So if you pause the video here, have a go at that, and then come back in a moment. Okay, so these are the 3 organs that you should have come up with. So heart, brain, and stomach. And that's quite embarrassing because I've missed out the R in the brain. There we go. Heart, brain, stomach. And you may have found other words in there like star, bones, tar. There's loads of other words in there that you could have had. So let me just rub that out and then we'll go through the objectives. Okay, so today we are going to define the terms cell, tissue and organ, describe the functions of different organs within the human body, and explain how the organs work together to form an organism. And your keywords are differentiate, cell, tissue, organ, organ system, and organism. Okay, so let's start with the simplest structure. So here we have a cell. There we go, very simple cell. You can see it's got a nucleus. I've not put anything else in there because it's quite difficult to make things on computers. So cells are the basic building blocks of all living organisms. Unicellular organisms exist as a single cell, so this would be the entire organism existing within this cell. Cells in multicellular organisms are differentiated and specialized to carry out particular jobs. Okay, so let's move on to differentiated cells now. So, can you remember any examples of specialized cells in the human body from previous lessons, either this year or in previous years? You would have learnt this in biology modules in year 9, 8 and 7 at differing ability levels, but see if you can remember any examples of specialised cells in the human body, and then we'll go through some examples in a moment. Okay, so let's start with these two. So we've got the sperm and the egg cell. So these are specialised because they are gametes. So that means that they have half the number of chromosomes that normal cells would have, normal body cells, because they combine and form a new cell which has 46 chromosomes, and that is the start of a new organism, which would be a baby in this case. We also have nerve cells. So we have 3 different types of nerve cell. We have the motor neuron, the sensory neuron, and the relay neuron. Now they all have individual roles, so you'll learn this a bit later on, but you do need to know that you need to have all 3 of these, and they are all different from one another in one way or another. And then we also have blood cells. So we have red blood cells and white blood cells. And red blood cells have this concave shape because they don't have a nucleus. Now, could you write down what you think the advantage of not having a nucleus for a red blood cell would be? So red blood cells don't have a nucleus because they can carry more oxygen. So they have a larger surface area and they've got more room in the red blood cell to carry more oxygen. So they can carry more oxygen around the body in the blood. So they are the only cell in the human body that does not have a nucleus. And you've also got white blood cells. Now they do have a nucleus, but these are also specialized because they are a part of the defense system, being they attack foreign bodies and pathogens that come into the body, and they will get rid of them. So they're very vital in survival, and they are also very different from red blood cells. And we've also got these ones, which are called ciliated epithelium, and these are found in the lining of the bronchioles, which is in the tubes that go in the lungs, and they line those tubes and catch any debris. And they've also got goblet cells, which is the one here, and they produce mucus, which comes up and sticks onto the cilia, and they bind to any debris that is in the bronchioles or bronchus, and the cilia then make a Mexican waving motion, that's the best way to describe it, and they push out the debris and mucus up to the esophagus and down into the stomach. So any pathogens present would be destroyed by the stomach acid. So if we move on to tissue then, so a tissue is a group of cells of the same type. So they have a very similar structure and a function, and they work together for a specific purpose. So a cell is just one of these, and a tissue is multiple cells all together which have similar structures and functions, and they work together for the same purpose. So let's do the same thing again. Can you think of any examples of tissues within the human body? So pause the video here, write down some examples, and we will go through some examples together. Okay, so this one here is muscle tissue. So there are also different types of muscle within the body. You've got skeletal muscle, which is this one here, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is found in the digestive tract, so you will find out more about this in future lessons. But the striated skeletal muscle basically is how you move your arms and legs and how you move all together, because these are attached to your bones and they move with your bones. And cardiac muscle is very specialized because they can beat. So that is why they're very specialized. You've also got this one here. These are in the pancreas, and the pancreas has two different functions, which we'll go through in a moment. So these are stained and viewed under a microscope. These are adipose tissue, adipocytes, adipose cells. So they are your lipid storing cells. And this one here is a bone cell. And yes, bone cells, bone tissue, that is a thing. And then we've got organs. So an organ is a group of tissue that works together to form a function, and they are composed of several types of tissue. So here we have the heart, and that would be composed of blood vessel tissues and also cardiac muscle, as we just went through, as well as other tissues as well. There'll be some adipose tissues in there too. So can you remember any examples of organs within the human body? Now I've given you one example, being the heart. See if you can think of any more. Just jot them down quickly on your sheet of paper or in your book or on a whiteboard. I don't mind, as long as I can see your work when it's submitted, then I don't mind what it is on. So do that now and then come back. So the first one being the heart, I gave you that one already, so you cannot have a 3 point with that one. The next one would be the lungs. They are connected to the heart because they work together in a system, which I'm going to ask you about in a moment. The brain, that is a very complex organ. The pancreas, again, a very complex organ which has two functions. And you've also got the gallbladder here, which is this green thing attached to the pancreas, and that comes off the liver. And this is part of the small intestine as well. Also got the stomach. That the arrows show the flow or how food comes into the stomach and how it leaves. And skin. You might be surprised to know that skin is the largest organ in the human body. So that's a very good thing to know, is that skin is the largest organ in the human body. And if you see an exam question which asks you whether skin is an organ or not, say it is, because it is. So there you go. So let's go on to the pancreas a little bit. So here we have the pancreas. It has two important functions: the endocrine function, which means that it makes hormones to control blood sugar levels, and these hormones are called insulin and glucagon. Insulin decreases blood sugar levels, and glucagon increases blood sugar levels. And you've also got the exocrine function, which means that it makes and secretes enzymes. Secreting is, or secretion is a key word that you need to know. It's not excreting, it's secreting. So the organ system then. An organ system is where multiple organs work together to achieve the same goal. So we have several systems here, and they all have specific adaptations so that they can perform their role efficiently and effectively. So again, last thing, can you remember any examples of organ systems which are found in the human body? Pause the video here and come back to it. So number one is the circulatory and pulmonary system. So this is the circulatory is the heart and all of the blood vessels around the body. So you can see there, and the pulmonary would be the lungs, and that's also intertwined with the circulatory system because our gaseous exchanges in the lungs, and we put things into the blood vessels and bloodstream from the lungs, such as oxygen, and we exchange it for carbon dioxide. So we breathe out carbon dioxide and breathe in oxygen. And there we have the nervous system. So this is made up of two parts. You've got the central nervous system, which is just your brain and your spine, and the peripheral nervous system, which is the rest of the body. So that includes your motor neurons and sensory neurons and also relay neurons. And the digestive system, that's another type of organ system, which is the one we're focusing on next lesson. And the reproductive system. So that's also an organ system, which everyone has. So that is also a very important system too. So here is the basic structure of how an organism is made. So you've got cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and organism. If you remember this, then you can't go far wrong in an exam. You can write it down in the margins of an exam paper or just wherever you can, and then you can remember how an organism is made, and it always comes from a cell, which is the simplest structure in an organism. So, quick test of your understanding. Copy this paragraph into your book and fill in the blanks. So our body is made up from cells of different types are adapted to perform different functions. A is a group of cells of the same type. An organ is a group of tissues that to perform a function. An example of an organ is a. Okay, so pause the video here and have a go at that. So let's go through the answers. So our body is made up from cells. Cells of different types are adapted to perform different functions. A tissue is a group of cells of the same type. An organ is a group of tissues that work together to perform a function. An example of an organ is a heart. So if you didn't get those answers or you did, tick them off with a different coloured pen, and that will help you later on when you come back to revise. Okay, another quick task then. So I'd like you to get a very simple drawing of human body. Draw the organs onto the human body. Try and write the names and the functions of them as well. So the first one being the heart, and it pumps blood around the body. So there we go. That's your first organ. So pause the video here, have a go at that, and come back to see the answers. Okay, so the heart has disappeared, but the heart was there. And then we've got the brain, which controls the body, the lungs, which pump air in and out of the body, the stomach, which stores and breaks down food, the kidney cleans the blood, and the large and small intestines absorb nutrients from food. Okay, last thing, this is something that I'm not going to give you the answers for, but I'm going to check in your books or the work that you submit after this lesson. So I'd like you to just quickly jot down whether these are true or false. So number 1, all cells perform the same function. Number 2, tissues are groups of cells with the same type or of the same type. 3, organs are big tissues. 4, lungs are located in the skull. 5, the function of the kidneys is to clean water. Or 6, the stomach stores and breaks down food. So have a go at those, and then what I'd like you to do is submit your work via Microsoft Teams as you usually would. I will mark it hopefully tonight and go through it and give you feedback later on.